welcome to this next presentation here at ABG Investor Day. My name is Simon Granat and I work as an equity analyst at ABG covering IT and tech stocks. With us today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Axel Lundvall, who is the CEO of Rolling Optics, and he will present the company for about 20 minutes, and then we will follow up with a smaller Q&A session. With that said, Axel, please go ahead and present the company.
Thank you very much. And before I present the company, just present myself again. So I'm Axel Lundvall. I'm the CEO and founder of Rolling Optics. I'm also the inventor behind the technology that we have developed. Can we change slide? So before we go into the details, I just want to give you a brief introduction to the company. We consider ourselves to be world leading in what we call micro-optic security solutions. We are developing, manufacturing and selling such solutions, including 3D effects. The company is a spin-off from Uppsala University, and we have more than 15 years and 200 million Swedish krona invested into the development of the technology. We are today around 20 employees, and we have our own production facility in Solna and around 50 patents to protect the technology. And as you can see from the logotypes below, we have customers and partners all over the world, and we'll get back to those a little bit later. Next slide. Starting with some highlights from last year. Up until May, we were not listed, but through a reverse takeover, we entered the Nasdaq First North Stock Exchange. And then all the news started coming. In July, we announced that we went into a distribution agreement together with Shenzhen Yuto Packaging Technology, one of China's leading suppliers of premium packaging. And the following month in August, our partner, CCL Secure, the world's largest manufacturer of polymer banknote substrates, launched a new security feature, which is called Cinema. And this security feature is completely Rolling Optics technology. We'll get back to that a little bit later. We did also a rights share issue in October of about 30 million Swedish krona. And this to further increase our pace in developing our commercial activities, sales activities, and to accelerate investments in R&D and IP rights. And eventually, in December last year, the first banknote, the first commercial banknote, a commemorative banknote that included the cinema feature, was launched, and this was a milestone in the company's history. Next slide, please. If we have a quick look at the figures from 2020 and compare with 2019, we can see that the revenues and total income almost doubled from 2019 to 2020. This is primarily due to revenues from our business area, brand security. We can also see that we have plenty of cash in order to carry out all the investments that we would like to do during the coming year. Next slide, please. And this is what it is all about. Counterfeit goods have become a big problem in the world. Maybe we usually tend to think about counterfeit products as luxury goods or brands sold on streets in exotic countries, but the fact is that this has now moved into the shops and onto the shelves, and not only in the exotic countries, but also here in Europe. Across the globe, it is a huge problem, and the total value of the trade in counterfeit goods is estimated by the OECD to be somewhere around $500 billion. But it's not just values in general, it is also a danger for health and life. So there are figures saying that about 15 to 30% of all antibiotics sold in Africa and Southeast Asia that are fake. And this is, of course, a very dangerous situation. And Interpol estimates that about 1 million people die every year due to fake pharmaceuticals. And in countries like India, about 1/3 of all FMCG is supposed to be fake products. And the problem is that consumers want to see the difference between genuine and fake products, but they cannot do. Now we have a solution to that. Next slide, please. So what we have invented is a new micro-optic 3D technology. It comes like this in a very thin substrate, primarily as a label. If I can ask you to click one more time, then hopefully there will be an animation starting. Yes, there we can see. So you can see on the label on the pharmaceutical package that there are 3D effects built into this thin polymer substrate. And this is a signal to the consumer that then can verify the authenticity of the product. Now, this technology can also be integrated into banknotes, passports, and ID cards. And this will hopefully replace the easily copied conventional holograms that we used to see on packages before. So that would be the rainbow shimmering metallic labels. So with the help of our technology, the consumers can quickly and easily recognize and tell if there is a genuine product or not. Next slide, please. Now we are active in 3 business areas. The first one would be high security, which is primarily banknotes for us. The second is brand security, and this is where we have the most of our revenues today. And this is, of course, protecting brands from counterfeiting. And the third segment would be brand identity. This is a little bit new segment to us that we're opening up right now. Here, the brand owners want to make use of the security aspect that we can bring, but also the visually attractiveness that we can bring to a package or a product by applying our technology to it. Next slide. So high security, as I said, is primarily banknotes for us. Normally, when we talk about banknotes here in Sweden, at least, we think about paper money, banknotes made out of cotton. But there are also polymer banknotes, which is essentially plastic substrates, and hybrid banknotes, which is a combination of plastic and paper. The market is huge, and there are about 200 billion banknotes produced every year. And opposite to what we might think here in Sweden, this is actually a growing market, and it's growing with about 3 to 4% per year. However, during the pandemic, there is a trend that this is increasing even more. There were figures coming out short before Christmas from Bank of England saying that between March and November last year, the total volume of cash, sterling pounds, increased with about 10%. So it's a lucrative market for those who are in it. Now, what can we earn in this context? Well, what we bring is considered to be a security component, and security components can earn about 1 to 15 Swedish öre per component, depending on if it's a high-end or low-end product and the business model, of course. Next slide, please. Now we have several activities in the high security field, but most of them we cannot talk about until they are formally launched. Now this is the one we can talk about today, and this is the partnership that we have with CCL Secure. As I mentioned before, CCL Secure is the biggest producer of polymer banknotes in the world, with about 80% of the market. They produce banknotes today for about 30 countries and over 160 denominations. All in total, they have produced about 60 billion banknotes, and they are growing. The two most recent customers that they acquired is Canada and the UK, which has converted completely from paper money to polymer banknotes. And there are more countries that will follow this trend. Next slide, please. Now, as I told you before, CCL Secure launched this cinema feature in August last year, and it came in the shape of this house note. A house note is a complete banknote produced in millions and millions, and it has passed all the durability tests that are required for a banknote. However, it's just a fake banknote to demonstrate the features. And as you can see here in this blue field, there are 3D effects built into the substrate itself. Now, it doesn't look very impressive in the camera as I present here, but live, it's magic. Now, short before Christmas, the first commercial banknote in terms of a commemorative banknote was launched. And it is this a Lebanese 100,000 livre banknote. And this is also a milestone for the company. And hopefully this will render into volume projects where we think that there will be revenues coming in from commercial banknotes on regular denominations within 2 years. The business model that we have with CCL Secure is a license model where we get a royalty for each banknote produced and sold containing the cinema effect. And as you can see on the quotes in blue, this is the words that CCL use when selling this new security feature, which is essentially the dominant feature that they are promoting when selling their polymer banknotes today. Next slide, please. When it comes to brand security, we have our own production in-house in Solna, Sweden. And as you can see on the picture to the left, it comes in large rolls. These rolls are then converted into labels primarily, just like the one I'm holding here. However, it is rolled up on these reels and then sent to the brand owners, which apply them in their filling lines. If you can click one more time, there will be some more images to show how these labels can be applied on various goods. It could be packaging, sealing labels, bottleneck labels, etc. Next slide, please. So the market for brand security components is huge, and it goes across all product areas, more or less, unfortunately. The market value in 2026 is estimated to be around $240 billion US, and it's increasing with about 10 to 11% per year. Now, the typical volumes when we sell labels is somewhere between 100,000 labels and 100 million labels per client and year. So what can we earn on a label? Well, depending on the size and the complexity of the label, we can charge somewhere between 5 öre and 2 krona per label. And as you might understand, the growing markets have the biggest problems with fake products, and therefore they will be focus for us. Next slide, please. So the core markets for us would be China, Asia, and Middle East, to some extent also North Africa. We work with direct sales towards end customers, primarily to get reference customers in remote geographies. But then we also work together with distributors to get even closer to the clients. And this has been a very good strategy during the pandemic due to the fact that we can't travel so much. We're still handling customers via our distributors in different regions. These distributors could be security solution providers, it could be share agents, but also label manufacturers or packaging manufacturers. And here you can see again some of the reference customers, and some of these that I would like to underline is Supariwala Exports, for example. This is the largest tobacco manufacturer in India, the privately owned. And to the right below, you can see also the seal of China Banknote Printing and Minting. It is the state-owned entity that use our labels to authenticate the genuinity of all their commemorate coins and commemorate banknotes. And this is an important reference when we do business in China. Next slide, please. So how does this work, and does it really work? Well, here is an example that we would like to tell you about. Most of our clients, they're very silent about their problems and they don't really want to communicate. But in this case, we have all the figures and can tell the story. So this brand, Sultana, it's a chewing tobacco brand in Algeria. They had huge problems with counterfeit products. These pouches are sold on the street in Algeria for about 5 to 10 Swedish krona. So it's not an expensive product, it's not a luxury product, but still we can bring a lot of value for the customer. So they started with trying with conventional holograms, which I talked about previously, i.e. Metallic shimmering rainbow colored holograms, but these were also copied. So it didn't really work. But then they started using our labels, and all of a sudden the counterfeits disappeared from the market because the consumers wanted to tell the difference, and now they finally could tell the difference between the genuine and the fake products. It turned out that the counterfeiters had about 50% of the market. So this means also that the brand owner could increase their own sales with about 100%. Now this was good, of course, for the brand, but it is also good for Rolling Optics because the rumor spread, and now we have 3 more clients in the chewing tobacco segment in Algeria, because their customers also wanted to be able to tell the difference of genuine and fake products. And this, of course, generates repeat orders several times a year, and year in and year out, so to say. And during 2020, we sold about 80 million labels to the chewing tobacco brands in Algeria. So this work shows how it works and that it works. Next slide, please. So the last business area that I told you about is what we call brand identity. Now, in this segment, the customers might want to use the fact that we can bring security to the products, but we can also bring a new tool when it comes to differentiation in packaging and product and building brand identity. It has also turned out, when we have done so-called eye tracking studies, that products carrying our technology would render much more attention on the shelf. It turned out that a product with Rolling Optics labels on gave about 70% more attention compared to a product without Rolling Optics 3D labels on. So this is a segment that we are now exploring and hope to open up primarily in Asia during next year. Next slide, please. One important partnership is the one in the brand identity context is the partnership that we announced in July 2020 with Yutong of China. They are one of the leading packaging producers in premium packaging in China. And together with Yutong, we have an aggressive agenda when it comes to integrating these new type of materials into packaging, primarily as a brand identity application, but also for security reasons, of course. Next slide, please. Looking a little bit into the future, summarizing what I have mentioned to you here now, with this in the security field, high security field, we look forward to the first volume banknotes to be launched, and hopefully we can also tell you about more collaborations that we will establish in the high security arena within short. On the brand security and brand identity area, we're going to further enhance our partner network and grow continuously together with our customers and partners, primarily in Asia and Middle East. And hopefully we can also tell you about the first clients in the brand identity segment before the end of the year. We're also building some new production capacity, a new production system, this to build more capacity, but also to make production even more effective and to stimulate our R&D activities. We will also invest further in R&D and IP in order to keep and maintain our position as world leading in this micro-optics technology. And this, I think, is the final slide. If we go to the next, I'd like to say thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Axel. Let's continue with with a few questions from my side. Initially, you mentioned that you have 3 different areas that you focus on and that you divide your business in. Which area do you see most potential in the long run?
Today, we have most of our revenues in the brand security area. And as you saw, we grew, we almost doubled the revenues during last year compared to 2019. We expect that business area to grow steadily. However, when it comes to banknotes, today we don't have any significant revenues, but these will of course come with the launch of this new security feature and other projects as they will come out. And here there will be significant revenues from the very start. So we expect that within a few years, the high security segment will be larger than the brand security segment. This goes also for the brand identity business area. This is also about larger areas, so to say. The brand security area is primarily about labels this size. If we use our material for brand identity purposes, it will be much larger labels or whole laminates, and as soon as the brand owners will start using this, the volumes become very big, and so will the revenues. So looking forward 5 years or something, I would expect that both the high security segment and the brand identity segment will actually be larger than the brand security segment.
Thank you. CCL, it sounds like a very reputable customer to contract. What's in it for a large player like this to actually sign an agreement with you? What's the dynamic around that? Is it to increase their market share, to increase their competitiveness? Is it so they may increase their prices to their customers? Could you explain to us the dynamics behind that?
Well, everybody needs to differentiate, so to say, and if you want to maintain or create a position where you consider yourself to be world leading, you have to come up with something new. And in security, something new is the thing, because something old is not secure. So once there is a reputable player coming up with something new, the central banks will listen, so to say, and pay attention. For CCL Secure, they are still a fairly small player compared to the paper substrate manufacturers. However, as I mentioned, there is this trend that the central banks are moving from paper banknotes to polymer banknotes for different reasons. And they just want to give them one extra reason, also the more attractive, good-looking reason, but also the more secure reason. Other arguments for moving from paper banknotes to polymer banknotes would be the hygiene factor, but I think the most dominant argument would be sustainability and durability. The polymer banknotes, they last about 5 times longer than the paper banknotes. So it's an economic question for the central banks.
Thank you, Axel. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but just as a final remark, you mentioned that you have an action plan going forward, but if we could just focus on 2020, what would your key objectives be for that year in just a short time?
For 2021, as I said, we are building this new production system that we'll put into action at the end of the year. We are also hoping to get the first customers in the brand identity sector. We're building our partnership together with Ito in China and expect a lot from that. And of course, we're focusing on building volumes on the brand security business area with some steady growth there.
Thank you, Axel. A pleasure hosting you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.